Friends, Isamaya Beauty's core collection just arrived. I ordered a few items from Sephora, and before I get into my nerd babbling, I just wanted to show you the swatches and the few demo footage clips that I took. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty for each product, just for that instant gratification, because I wanted to experiment with other products in my collection using the Isamaya ones, but I didn't want to keep you, so let's get right to it. If you don't know, Isamaya Beauty dropped her core collection last week on her website, and it became available on Sephora on February 10th. Online only for now, but I'm unsure when it will be available in store. I saw around on the interwebs that it could be available end of February, so crossing fingers. I decided to pick up 6 items because I didn't want to break the bank initially, just wanted to try a few products, and this isn't the first time I'm trying Isamaya Beauty. If you would like to check out my playlist, I'll make sure to post that link down below in the description box. But my first interaction with Isamaya was actually with her collaboration with Byredo, and then I went on to her industrial collection, so on and so forth. But here is the unboxing, and I have to say, I love the packaging here, very clinical, and I think aligns with the general aesthetic for her core collection, which if you want to know more about, I would highly recommend that you watch Isamaya's video on YouTube, which I can also link down below, where she explains the vision behind this collection and how she wanted it in general to be skincare forward, infusing tons of different extracts and skincare benefits into her makeup, because she was always all about that. And I think premiering her core collection, she wanted to lay down the groundwork for that beauty enthusiast in terms of skin, because Isamaya loves skin. She's not so much into foundation and covering, but more so about enhancing what's already there, lessening the look of imperfections, that blurring soft focus effects I think she wants to establish with her products, and exactly did that, especially when you see the overall design of the campaign and the product designs themselves, very clinical with the syringe-like construction. I had said in my, I think, Shot With Me video that it was giving Ian Flux meets Beauty, and I think that's exactly what Isamaya, well, that's what I say or assumed, what she wanted to deliver in terms of the overall design. But back to the boxes, you can see in the font that the words in red kind of highlight or deliver the main ingredient or one of the main ingredients in the formula that's supposed to do whatever in terms of skincare benefits. And the boxes have Braille, which I thought looked like Braille. I'm not exactly sure if the Braille is for the product name or for the product shade name. Straightforward in terms of that. Also on the front of the boxes, you have the name of the product and the shade name in parentheses. You also have where it's made. So I do like the packaging a lot. I think it aligns again with how the products are designed. And the first one to open up here is, I believe, the Color Correcting Serum, which I decided to purchase in Lilac. And I know that is a strange choice considering that Lilac is labeled for light to medium skin tones, but I was interested in how the brilliant effects that it promised, how it would perform on a skin tone like mine. And just to quickly say, yes, it's brightening, but because it's for light medium skin tones, maybe not the best if you're my complexion. I will have to experiment and mix Lilac with my other foundations or other complexion products, because on its own is a little too brightening. It kind of makes me a little whitewashed because of the pearl in there. But again, I'll get more into the details when we focus on the individual products themselves. The 5-point lift I was excited about, and there are a couple of components to this product. You have that metal tip applicator that you can actually detach alongside, I think, this cylinder, a piece that you can screw off, and there is a clicking mechanism to the tube that ensures that the product is locked, that bottom part doesn't get pressed in your makeup bag or what have you. I purchased this in medium fair, which is a little yellow on me, but again, I'll have to mix it with my other products. But initially, when I tried the texture on my skin, I detected it being a little more liquidy than some of my other concealers in my collection. And again, because Isamaya wanted this to be more skincare forward, it's not going to be long lasting as other concealers in your collection. In fact, it feels more like a skincare product with color in it versus a makeup product with some skincare in it. It's fluid, and I would say at most offers light to medium coverage, and I place it under my eyes and under my cheekbones because the whole point of the product is to enhance, lift your structure and to offer that highlight effect or that enhancing effect to those areas of your skin. Just to go over here, the medium fair is medium skin tones with neutral olive undertones, so it does work, and I did apply it over the Color Correcting Serum in Lilac. Now, both of these products together, I would recommend that you powder because it does have more of that skincare finish when it settles and definitely leans more natural, not dewy, because I am dry. So if you are oily, I would be careful with how much of this 5-point lift you apply because it could be a little too emollient. Maybe you would have to powder first. Maybe you'll have to cocktail it with a product that has a little more holding grab to the skin. I've worn this for the last hour and a half and my skin does look, it looks glowy for sure. And in terms of coverage, as I mentioned, I think the 5-point lift leaning more light to medium, it does lessen the look of my imperfection. It doesn't eliminate them completely like my Dior stick would or even my foundation from Suku would, which is fine. I think if you're more into tint like products and you might not use tint or foundations at all and you mainly rely on your concealer for those roles, for that purpose, I think you will like the 5-point lift for that because it does move across the skin well, but it's not going to have as much coverage as I would think like from Natasha Denona's I think it's the High Glam concealer, or even Danessa's Lift and Flex concealer. So those are just quick comparisons I wanted to present if you're wondering about how the 5-point lift sits up against those recent concealers or the ones that I've been using extensively. Okay, I have to cover this cheek duo. I am disappointed in this cheek duo. Not because of the texture. I actually have it on now. I like the texture. I'll get into that in a minute. I like the color. The photo on the product page does not match what I opened up in this compact. When I read Nectarine, what came to mind was peach because that's what the fruit is. And on Sephora's website, it says rust brown, dark golden brown. Where is the rust brown? Where is it? I don't see it. I see peach, and up against the photo on the website, it was not giving brown. So I was disappointed in that because I wanted to see what a brown tinted cream blush would look like. So that means I will either have to go for Sultan, which is the deep brown, sheer brown, or Capricorn, which is the mid brown golden, but I don't know. I've been catfished. If I buy this, is it going to actually be brown? So that makes me more inclined to wait until I see these products in person. As much as I want a more brown toned cream blush from Isamaya, from the fact that Nectarine does not look like anything on the website, nor does it match the product description, I'm gonna wait. Other than that, I actually like the texture of the cream blush. More lightweight than Natasha's High blush. It takes on more of like a silicone-y feel. It's actually quite wet feeling and applies evenly on the skin, and you could actually dial up the color intensity by applying more. I applied with my fingers, which I was surprised to discover offered an even blend on my cheeks. It didn't look splotchy or uneven. I will do this again on my second demo here in the video using a brush to see how much more color payoff we can achieve. The highlight side, more of a glossy feel to the texture. It's not as slippy, but more, yes, creamy, but it reminds me of like a balm sort of in terms of consistency, and it does apply well. It has more of a tack. It doesn't have that same feel as Isamaya's Dazzle Up Stick from her Wildstar collection, which is no longer available, but I'm more than happy to make a comparison later in the video. Despite that, it still leaves behind a wet effect on the skin, and it pairs well with the Nectarine shade. Despite it appearing quite golden in the compact, it doesn't have a dark shadow cast when I turn forward, so it does deliver a nice highlighting effect on my skin tone. Now getting into the Sculpting Stick in Maple. I took a chance because it was tough to decide from the photos online which will be my best match, but I decided to go with Maple, which is described to be for medium dark skin tones with neutral undertones. I originally had my eye on Oak and I was thinking about buying both. Happy I did not waste my time with Oak because Maple is a great match for me, and I was looking forward towards how well this stick would blend with fingers, and I was pleased to discover that it's actually quite creamy on the application and easy to blend with fingers, again without appearing splotchy or uneven, and it does offer a beautiful sculpt to my complexion without it appearing too shadowy, so I appreciated that. And I decided to run this through my eye crease, and it does offer nice shading there, and happy that I chose this shade because if I just wanted a nice sculpting effect on the eyes without actually having to reach for a separate eyeshadow, then I have that option. I played with the nose contour and I played with the brush application. Again, I could get more into those details later in the video. The color itself I like. I think it serves again as a nice sculpting shade without it being too grayish or too cool leaning on my skin tone, and I am happy with the texture. It is easy to blend, and as Isamaya had mentioned that you have a little play time when first applying the sculpting stick, but then it sets to a what she calls a not movable consistency texture. So make sure you get in there and blend as much as you need before the product sets completely. And I haven't had the sculpting stick on for long. I did apply without any primer on my lids, and there is a little bit of gloss on my lids. I think the oil is starting to break through, but I will have to get back in terms of how well the stick performs as a standalone, especially if I apply it mainly on my lid, because I mainly just placed it through my crease and blended the ends of it or diffused the rest of it over my lid. But I would see how this product will perform as a dedicated eyeshadow and discover how long it lasts without a primer. For the lip liner, I was mostly excited about the shade Liberica, which is described to be as a medium black, and I thought that's interesting because I had my eye on Tonka, I had my eye on Gesha, and I figured Liberica is unlike anything I have in my lip liner collection, and Isamaya had stressed how she wanted to produce as many nude shades as possible, like true nude shades that hit the fullest spectrum imaginable. In terms of consistency, it is on the drier side, and I think it is meant to offer more sculpting, more contouring, and to ensure any other lip product stays on the lip and does not feather. If I were to quickly compare it to Lisa's Shape and Sculpt, Lisa's Shape and Sculpt, despite I think taking on a similar role to Isamaya's liner, a little more creamy, even though it's drier than within Lisa's brand. Her first liner she developed, that one is ultra creamy. This is a little drier, but still a little more creamy than Isamaya's lip liner. Again, this is a first impressions video, so I will have to use this for the rest of the week, for the rest of the month, and report back any other observations that emerge. But for the most part, I like the color. It's interesting. And on top, I applied the metallic balm. We'll get there in a minute. Again, I think it's nice to have like that medium black tone, that grayish tone for a lip liner that offers that contrast and color intensity without it being a neutral dark brown or just a straight on black, right? It softens the look of the color, and when applied on the lip, I think it presents an interesting potential combinations with other nude leaning lipstick colors that I have in my collection. And lastly, the metallic lip balm, one of the products that I was highly anticipating because the concept of fusing metallic finishes to a balm formula. And I gotta say, I mean, this straight up apply like a lipstick, even though it's constructed to be more of like a balm in terms of how the bullet is designed. The color delivery is there. But just to read the product description on Sephora, metallic purple brown with iridescent multi-dimensional reflex. This for me took on, yeah, I would say, sure, it is purple brown, leaning more on maybe the purple side. And again, when we get back to this product, I'll compare it to Isamaya's Lucky Kiss in Buck, which also has like a bronzy vibe to it. But this balm has a lot of iridescent flakes in it, and you can feel it a little bit in the formula inevitably because there's so much in here and it is super metallic-y, right? And I'm still hung up on this blush duo. Why I was bummed because if I had more of like the brown tone blush that I was expecting from Nectarine based on the product description, I wanted to achieve more of a monochromatic look today with the Sculpting Stick and then the brown tone blush with the metallic lip balm, Liberica. I have Liberica on actually with this balm, so what are you gonna do? But for the most part, I think these products delivered Isamaya's vision, right? In terms of delivering that skincare look or your skin but better, color cosmetics that really focus on skin tones across the spectrum, right? As I mentioned with the lip liner and with the color correcting serum, using a product that doesn't necessarily cover but enhances, that helps if paired with other complexion products in your collection to help kind of zhuzh them up, maybe bring a little more iridescence to the finish, a little more of a soft focus finish, if you will. I think she needs more products in her 5-point lift because the next shade over will be too deep for me, but I wish this was more neutral in undertone. This leans a little yellow on me, which is okay. You'll see the more yellow tone when I use it solo, which is interesting. I'm thinking about mixing this with my Dior stick to see what would happen. And I'm thinking about mixing the Danessa Yummy Skin with the Lilac. Seeing it, the lilac tone kind of brings down the golden undertone from Danessa's Yummy Skin Serum, although this is marketed to be more neutral. Is a little more golden on me personally. But I will say off the bat, this product line is not going to be for everyone. It's not if that consumer is not so much into skincare infused makeup. If they want more coverage, a little more longevity, right? So it'll be interesting to see what you guys think. I would love for you to share your commentary down below, especially if you ordered from Core Collection, if you already tried the products. I will continue to use these products for the rest of the month and see what I can do to salvage a few of the shortcomings I encountered when trying them. But now that you've seen everything in action and my initial thoughts, let's get into the second part of this video where I'll reapply these products, give you a little more insight in terms of what I feel about them individually, and then combine them with my other products to see what we can get from Isamaya's Core Collection, because ultimately I wouldn't use these products solo, but in combination with makeup that I already own. That said, it's time to take this off and bring you in a little bit closer. All right, bare face and ready to begin again. I just used jojoba oil to remove the makeup that I had on. We got a lot of blemishes here to cover, which I'm happy to show because if I had perfect skin, I guess it will be hard to determine the effectiveness of a few of these products if you have similar skin conditions to myself, right? Let's start off with the color correcting serum. Again, I purchased the shade Lilac, light medium skin tones with yellow undertones. So I know this might not be formulated for me personally, but olive probably would have been a better bet. The dark skin tones with all undertones. The problem is that I didn't know that olive would make me look too tan, so that's why I was wary of that choice. But just to show you again, this spout comes separately in the box. You plop it on here. You have a screw on top that pops off, or maybe, well, not so much screw on, it's a pop off and pop on, but you have to squeeze the spout here. The bottle itself is hard plastic. So that's how you get the product out, by squeezing here, or actually you gotta wait until the product comes down. So hold the bottle in this way, and that's the consistency. You can see that it's pretty liquidy and it has a lot of pearl in here. Again, it's meant to target a look of pigmentation, dullness, rosacea, and a multitude of skin concerns. The coverage is light. How to use, apply all over face with hands to clean skin. That's how I initially applied it, right? If you want to see how that looks, all over my skin is going to have more of like that pearl finish. Well, it might be hard to see in this lighting, but in my bathroom, it looked like I had like a white base pearl serum on, right? So that's why I have to be careful with how much I apply. So with that said, I'll mix it with the Yummy Skin. Let me grab my palette, and just for color reference, this is what we're dealing with for the Yummy Skin Serum. On me, see how golden that leans. But if I add a little bit of the lilac, not much, just to kind of, you know, see what we get from that, maybe it could adjust the color a little bit. We'll see. Going in with my Refer LC3 just to now pounce the product around my face. I'm also open to trying the Lilac serum with my Dior stick, right? I think that would be an interesting combination as well. In terms of what I would expect for this lilac toned color correcting serum to do is still address dullness and brightening, but now because combined with the serum skin, it's not going to look as whitewashed, right? And still, it kind of is giving golden, right? This serum skin, for me, in number 9, it just warms me up a lot, which is not a huge deal. But that's what we're dealing with in terms of how the lilac can contribute, the color correcting serum contributes, and you will detect that pearly finish, right? So whether you apply the color correcting serum solo or you combine it with another complexion product, it's not going to be matte, and it's not going to be completely, well, it's not going to be satin either. It's going to be natural with that glow, and with that, it's not going to offer as much coverage. But I think its role with the pearl in there is to deflect light away from the imperfections, to bounce light off those blemishes. Despite that, we'll go in with the 5-point lift, which I will exclusively now apply on under my eyes, because all over the face, you could get away with that, as you saw in the B-roll, but it's not going to be high coverage. It's going to have more of like a serum quality, I felt when I applied it for the first time. And again, you have the locking mechanism when you make sure you open to now press the product out from this side. And again, it does have that syringe feel about it, especially when you're trying to be careful and not press all the product out, but it doesn't come out like a rocket, so that's good. And the applicator does feel nice when you apply the metal tip on your skin, but this is the color, right? It leans pretty yellow on me, and again, you can see the consistency here. It's very liquidy. It's very liquidy. It doesn't have the same as like the Natasha concealer. Look how creamier that is, and look how much coverage you get. Same thing with Danessa's Lift and Flex. And if you apply this with your fingers, you will naturally take away product. So you're going to have or leave behind the lightest amount of coverage with the 5-point lift. I think the 5-point lift are for those who are into no makeup, right? As little as possible. They want more skincare. They want more of like that natural, almost leaning, dewy finish with a little bit of color there to help even out the skin tone and to also enhance the look of the skin so it does not appear dull. But it looks like I applied, again, more skincare than makeup, and it could be largely due to the fact that I use jojoba oil to remove what I had on before, and I tried to wipe off the excess, but I'm gonna have more of like a cushiony base, if you will, when I apply these products that are already supposed to be super zhuzhy in nature. I want to get into the Sculpting Stick now, because that actually I think is a great product. You only get 1 gram of product though in this stick. Let me make sure I read that correctly on the product page. $40 for a gram of product, so that's a lot. That's a lot for a gram of product. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to get through this quickly, but the good thing is you don't have to use a ton at one time. And what I like to do is, let's use the fingers first, do one side at a time, because if this is supposed to set to be not moving, I don't want the other side to set in that way. But you see how the maple gives me a little bit of sculpt, as well as a little bit of like a blush effect, if you will, if you wanted to spread it over the cheeks. And with a brush, it's a little easier, I guess, because the brush is more direct, but it blends out pretty quickly. And again, I do like the color maple as it offers a little bit of that sculpting and what I did in the first round of B-roll is I placed it also on the perimeters of my forehead just to get that going. And I did the nose thing, but I'm actually going to keep this application right on the upper echelon, if you will, of my nose, because I don't do well with bringing nose contour all the way down, but I think having some shadowing here helps with the overall look. And now let's bring the sculpting stick not only through my crease, but I'm actually going to bring it all the way. I mean, we're doing lid, crease, and blending it softly here out the edge of my lash line. And even if I didn't use a brush, it's very easy to tap and blend out, and that offers up like a nice shadow effect to the eyes if I wanted to achieve more of a smoky look, or if I wanted to do more of a contour look and not have as much of the sculpting stick on the lid, but keeping it more here through the crease. And just using the finger as opposed to when I used my brush, it's pretty easy to blend out on the eyes. You could also bring this on the lower lash line if you wanted even a more smoky look, except you will just have to use the tip of your finger, which probably won't be possible if you got nails on. And I forgot to mention this when covering like a fast throughway with the products, that you could also use the contour stick on the lip, which I like a lot, because this offers like a soft contouring on the lip, almost like a tint, but it definitely has more of that monochromatic look to the skin. Now for this gosh darn blush duo. I'm still so salty about it. Please, again, tell me where's the rust brown? Where is it? I don't see it. This time I'll apply it with a brush, but I just wanted to, again, give you an idea of how slick this is. It is very wet. I said silicone-y, but it's silicone-y implies sure, slick, but also that dry touch. This is definitely more wet touch, right? And here, I don't know if you can detect that texture on the viewfinder, but I'm going straight from blush to pan to cheek. And, you know, it's a pretty color, right? I've mentioned in my shot with me how I love the mango shades, although I wouldn't classify this as mango, but this is definitely more like orange coral, okay? And with the brush, you definitely get more color payoff. So if you wanted to apply with a brush for that purpose, for that expectation, definitely, because with fingers, it will have more of like that sheer application. And Isamaya had mentioned that she felt blushes were too pigmented and didn't truly represent like actual skin tones. So I appreciate that, right? Because that's what I said about Natasha's line, how I thought it was just far too pink and there wasn't much nuance across all 6 shades. Even though I'm disappointed with Nectarine, I still like the fact that the blush duo line is more diverse in regards to the shades, because yes, now you got the peach coral, orange coral, but you also have the cooler pinks, you got a lilac in there, you got the brown tone. So that's what I'm excited to try eventually. I'm just putting some here over my forehead, and now I'll use my finger to apply the highlighter, which looks wet, but it doesn't have that same slip like the blush side does. This has a little more of a like I want to say balm. It's a tighter consistency, right? But listen, it's highlighting for sure. And I like the color too. It's easy to apply. It doesn't lift the blush when you tap it on top, right? It has a pretty even finish to the skin. Now let's see Liberica in action again, and allow me to wipe this off, because before we had the sculpting stick in maple. And just to show you up close so you could get an idea of the pencil's consistency, right? Is on the drier side, and when you apply it, it's not super dry where you can get color on the lip. I would say it's pretty creamy though, but maybe that's because I have leftover from the sculpting stick. But I think that's a pretty cool color, you know, if you ask me. I know it's not your typical brown, but I didn't want to get another brown. I wanted to get something that I don't own, and compared, or rather paired with the balm, the metallic balm, this don't play. My goodness, this isn't bad for a balm. The color payoff is insane, right? Look at the base color there. Again, that purple brown. And with Liberica, it offers even a cooler backdrop to the color, right? So I could only imagine if I applied this solo or even applied it with the maple stick, how it will maybe lead more brown instead of cool purple tone. So you can adjust the look of one penny depending on the lip liner you choose to apply it with. I will have to experiment with the other shades in my collection, what I would pair Liberica with. But right now, in my opinion, I look super shiny. I look super shiny and glossy, which I rather be a little more soft matte natural. That's just my preference in terms of how I would like my skin to look. I know Isamaya loves to look super shiny when she does her demonstrations on Instagram, which she has several of now when advertising her core collection. That's her aesthetic. And of course, she's going to infuse that vision into her own makeup, because that's how she does makeup on her clients, on her celebrities and all that. I get that completely, right? I just want to make clear that if that's not your thing, then you're not gonna like this collection. If you want more color payoff, especially from the 5-point lift, if you're more medium to medium high, this is like medium. If you want more color payoff from your blush, I would sit this duo around, hold on, this color payoff is around where the Merit sits. The Merit has more of like that wash of color, and it definitely has like a more shine to the cheeks. Compared to Natasha's High Blush, there's a little more color there on the first swatch, right? But it still blends easily. So, you know, the thing is, I prefer Isamaya's color offerings over Natasha's, although I think Natasha has a great product. I will also say that the highlight side from Isamaya's duo gives more of like that wet effect from the highlight versus Natasha's more like highlight with a little bit of color. We did new swatches. Look how much shine you get from Isamaya, and Natasha's High Blush highlight side is more of like that soft focus. It doesn't have the same wet effect as you will find from Isamaya's highlight side in the duo. So to kind of adjust this a little bit, I will apply Prada's setting powder on top. Now, there is no fragrance across all these products. However, there is like a no product smell from the Color Correcting Serum. I think it's the Color Correcting Serum and not necessarily the 5-point lift concealer. That's my only about it. I wish there was no smell at all. The same sentiments I share with Lisa Eldridge's skin tint, that even though it is fragrance free, I still smell like a no product fragrance or no product scent in the product. But like I had said, I just want to tap on a little bit of the powder, because I think taking down some of this just zhuzh, if you will, for lack of a better term, naturally evens out my complexion more and also lessens the look of my blemishes, right? So I think this is a little better in terms of how I prefer my skin to look, right? I won't cover the highlight portion here because I like that, right? We could keep the highlight portion. The Sculpting Stick is starting to crease a little bit. So I wouldn't rely on this product as your primer for shadow. I would still use a dedicated primer that is formulated to keep shadows on, to not allow them to crease, to keep the color intensity on all day. But if you don't mind this happening and just kind of doing this throughout the day to take out the creases, then by all means, go for it. Oh, let me quickly swatch Buck next to One Penny. Do I have room here? Yes, on the very edge. So this is from Isamaya's Wildstar collection, and Buck has a little more bronze in the backdrop shade, right? So they have a similar metallic finish, but you can see how One Penny has more of like that purple in the color. And in terms of the formula, this has a little more slip to it, whereas the balm naturally feels more of like a balm. So it's a little creamier, and it has a little bit of like that, I don't want to say goop. It's like you get a little more of that glossy kind of traction when you apply it on your lip, where this is a little more smooth across the board because this is a dedicated lipstick. And compared to the Bullet in the metallic balm, right? So you see that there's an overspray on the Lucky Kiss lipstick, whereas in the metallic balm, you mainly just see the particles in there. But if you prefer to have more of like a bronzy brown tone to your metallic finish lip product, and you already have Buck, you would keep this shade. But I believe in the metal or the lip balm metallic, whatever, in that lineup, there is like a dedicated bronze shade in the options. I just thought One Penny was interesting because, again, of the brown purple combination. Roundup thoughts from my first impressions. If I were to return anything, I'm not going to, but if I would return the Color Correcting Serum, because although I appreciate what this product is designed to do, I do realize that it does eliminate dullness because it naturally has that brightening effect, I think mainly from the pearl and from the color. This isn't a great matchup for my skin tone, and I'm aware of that, obviously, because that's what it said in the shade description. The problem is, I think the next shade over is too dark for me, that it's not going to enhance my skin tone, but it's going to enhance and also give me a tan, which not a bad idea, but sometimes I don't want to give tan, I just want to give enhanced, which means I will mainly stick with my star product is the Dior, the Forever Glow Star Filter from Dior. This is in 3N. This is a far better match for my skin tone, and I think it delivers everything that the color correcting does, except it's just a better undertone match for me. I also think the Star Filter has like a finer pearl finish in here. I don't detect the same amount of pearl in the Dior as I do in Isamaya's Color Correcting Serum, because it's hard to tell. This is like the leftover from the Color Correcting Serum. The Dior doesn't leave behind the same finish as Isamaya's Color Correcting Serum does. So in my opinion, this is a superior product. Yes, obviously because of the color match, but I think because of the consistency as well. The 5-point lift I like. I just wish it came in a more neutral undertone. I think there needs to be more shades in the lineup. To go from medium fair to the next one over, it'll just be too deep for me. And I'm happy that those shades are available, 100%. I'm just speaking from my perspective that I do appreciate a product that's more skincare leaning, that doesn't necessarily offer in your face medium to high coverage. That's more of a serum consistency, definitely takes more of a skincare product role than anything with color in there. I just wish it came in a more neutral undertone for me personally. I would feel more comfortable applying this all over, but in the meantime, I would probably have to combine this with my Lisa Eldridge skin tint that's more neutral in undertone, and perhaps rely on this texture to give it a little more fluidity on the blend, which again, I enjoy what the 5-point lift concealer does, but this doesn't give medium coverage if you suffer from heavy discoloration under the eyes. It's going to blur it a little bit, but it's not going to completely cover it, nor will it completely cover any blemishes you have on the rest of your face. But what it will do is just lessen the look of imperfections of blemished skin and discolorations, and help with an even tone, but that's where it ends. The Sculpting Stick is a keeper for me. Again, will pretend return the color correcting serum, will pretend return the 5-point lift concealer. I actually like the sculpting stick. I know it's expensive for how much you get in here, but we'll see how long this lasts. I enjoy the fact that I can easily use my fingers to blend out the product, that I don't have to use a brush, and what's left behind is a soft sculpt effect that doesn't look too undertone or too dark on my skin tone. And I enjoy the fact that I can use it not only on my cheeks, but eyes and lips as well. I would exchange this for a different shade. I would, because I know how peaches look on me. I have them in my collection, but I wanted a brown tone cream blush. I know I'm repeating myself. I'm still salty about it. Nevertheless, I do like this product. I like the consistency and enjoy how it's more wet and definitely leaves room for building the color, but it's not going to be as color rich in my opinion as Natasha's Duo. This is more of like a sheer wash of color that can be built to like around the medium wash level, if you will. Again, I compare this to the Merit blush, which a lot of people like because of that more watercolor quality about the application. And I do enjoy the highlight side that is a little more glossy in finish, but it's not too balmy that it feels sticky or too tacky, right? It might feel tacky in comparison to how wet and slick the blush side feels like, but in no means is it too sticky, in my opinion. I would exchange this color, but I wouldn't return it entirely, so that's where I sit on that. The liner I like, but I am fully aware how Liberica is limited in terms of what I can successfully pair this with. I think the consistency is okay. It's nothing that I haven't tried before. I think I was looking more forward to the color itself versus the consistency of the pencil. I knew it would be drier in nature just based on how it was described and also how it looked on video, right? I was just more interested in what medium black looked on my skin tone, and it's cool. I think I have to do a little more exploring in my own collection to discover a shade that I think will pair nicely with Liberica. And the metallic balm is a keeper, and I say that because I think the fact that it's in a bullet design like this makes it easy to apply without necessarily having to see yourself in a mirror, and to have this high shine metallic effect from a balm product I think is quite impressive. Yes, it does look very cool tone, especially since I wore it or wearing it on top of Liberica, but I'm impressed with how much pearl and iridescent, whatever those particles are in the formula. And even though you can feel some of it, it's still quite smooth and comfortable to wear, in my opinion. And also makes me more inclined to try the other shades. I don't want to go too crazy. I have my eye on Shaded Rose as well as Gilded. I think those are beautiful. And the Bronzite shade that I think would compare to Buck, but might not need it since I already have Buck, is more of that brown bronze undertone. So we'll see how I feel about that. But those are my roundup thoughts. Again, in general, I think Isamaya delivered what she wanted. That just depends on where you sit with that vision and if it aligns with how you like your makeup to be applied, how you like your makeup to feel. I don't think this line, which in my opinion is very much hybrid in nature. Yes, it's a makeup line, but there's so much skincare sensibility in here that it might turn people off, because the trade-off is you're not going to get as much coverage. Longevity is not in the conversation, because when a formula is just so emollient and serum-y and meant to bring more moisture and conditioning and silkiness to the skin, I think those formulas are just naturally more prone to break down faster over time, especially if you have more oily skin. If you have drier skin, maybe this is a better choice for you. And more so about the marketing aspect of this release, I think Isamaya needs a lot more models and examples of how these shades look across different skin tones. I think it's helpful to have better photos that show the product true to color, just so the consumer has a better idea of what they're getting into. I will say I'm looking forward to discovering if she will add any type of eyeshadow type of product. I know the Core Collection is meant to encompass the groundwork of one's makeup, which starts at the complexion, right? Establishing those pillars first and then taking the more specialized products out from there. Who knows? I do hope she does come out with another eyeshadow palette for her Core Collection, or if she decides to launch an entirely new collection more focused on color cosmetics versus skincare and makeup, because Industrial 1 and 2 are both phenomenal. I know there were some who weren't crazy about 1.0. 1.0 hits. It's grungy, it's edgy, and it has just great body to it, and I think pairs beautifully with 2.0, where it's just lighter, more ethereal. I think why Isamaya did that on purpose to establish that synergy. Wildstar, that I recently purchased, is a hit. I know I was turned off by the packaging initially and the price as well, and why I didn't buy it right away and waited for nearly like 2.5 years until that stupid palette went on sale. I enjoyed it immensely. I think it's a fantastic buy and would love to know how she would interpret those eyeshadow palette types visions in a Core Collection concept like this. We shall see. But again, let me know, family, if you purchased anything from Isamaya's Core Collection, what you think. I would love to discuss it down below with you, just to see where you stand on it, how your experience was. And if you made it this far, because I know it was a long one, make sure you like this video because it helps me tremendously, letting the YouTube algorithm know that I'm worth watching. Also consider subscribing, because I will definitely do a follow-up video with all the experimentations that will take place in combining my newly purchased Isamaya products with my other makeup products in my collection. That means you gotta hit that notification bell so you know immediately of when that upload drops. And if you want to check out that Wildstar video where I try on the palette, the lipstick, the highlighter stick, as well as the lip liner, you could check that out right now.